afraid I've got some bad news. I knew it. I love when he does that.
This next one, sent on Twitter using the hashtag corny drive-thru from the Big Squeeze.
The Big Squeeze?
The Young Bucks gave an interview that basically said they have too many stables and it's too hard to book guys by themselves. Can't wait to hear your thoughts. I think there's some grammar problems with this question. Have you seen this interview?
No. What, they came out and said, yeah, we've fucked this all up?
No, I think the question got it wrong. Let me find the exact quote, and then I'll go to the interview. The interview is with TV Insider and Scott Fishman. And at one point here, the question...
Sounds fishy to me.
It sounds fishy to you. The question comes up, how do you respond to the argument that there are too many groups or factions in AEW right now? And then Nick Jackson said, New Japan Pro Wrestling has been booking factions for more than 40 years, and they're still around. I see the argument, but I think North American fans have never seen this many at one time. They are used to 1, 2, or 3 stables in a company. It's easier to book angles. It's easier to get more people involved with different groups. If you're not aligned in a stable, you're alone. And that's hard to book sometimes.
Oh, my God.
That's why we have a lot of factions. It has clearly worked.
Clearly. Because nobody, absolutely nobody, knows who's on whose side, who's mad at each other, or why, or even who is in what group. Because everybody's in a group and they fucking bop back and forth at the drop of a hat. And this is what... It's almost like I'm listening to somebody talk about a completely different thing. And it's not just if you asked anybody who has been involved in professional wrestling for more than 20 years, they would say the exact opposite of what that Nimrod just said. It's harder when everybody's in a group. It's easier when somebody's by themselves. That's exactly the antithesis of what anybody in the history of wrestling up until about 15 or 20 years ago, maybe not even that, would have said. And almost like you would have to sit down and figure out what is the exact opposite of a true statement that I can make. Let me write it down to make it as opposite as possible from what the actual fact of the matter is, and then I'll say that. That's how far off from any kind of normal wrestling logic that is. But I expect nothing less from those two fucking morons.
The headline of the article in TV Insider is AEW's Matt and Nick Jackson are done being the Disney version of the Young Bucks.
Well, good. What line of work are they taking up next?
You don't like them any better as heels than you did as baby faces?
No. No. They're not battling against the tide as heels because the natural reaction to any professional wrestling fan to watching the Young Bucks is, why are these people on my fucking television? Look at these fucking children playing wrestler. And can they please go the fuck away? So at least if they're heels, that's not exactly the reaction anybody wants. Would you please go away? But at least it's more, they're not battling against the tide. But what have I said on this entire program? Small children imitating wrestlers' moves with no fucking visual credibility and their tongue in their cheek that they don't really mean anything. And they're playing a part. And they bop back and forth in the part they're playing every time the wind blows. Are they heels? Are they baby faces? Are they mad at this guy? Because of all the factions. It's basically, again, a small little private club, just like Ring of Honor was at one time. When they went on television, the existing Ring of Honor fans were just bullshit. That we would try to actually explain all of these weird wrestling quirks that no other company did, the handshakes and all that stuff. It took their private club away. Well, the Young Bucks and their ilk have a small private club group of fans that like to see children imitate wrestling and do cheerleading moves and gymnastics. Most people don't like that, and they ain't never going to. So whether they're heels, baby faces, it doesn't matter what they do. As Pat Malone, the Green Shadow, used to say, I'll fight you, fuck you, or run you a foot race. I'm going to win either way. It's the same thing. Whatever they do is going to be the same thing. All the little goofy fucking children fans are going to like it. And the people watching the biography of Stone Cold Steve Austin are going to imagine, what the fuck if Austin came down and picked his teeth with those two little grade schoolers? Where's the real men? So, no, I don't like them any better as heels than baby faces because it's fucking preposterous. And they say stupid shit like that, and then an amateur fucking former Fantasy Federation booker online looks to them like they're veterans and they know somehow they're wrestling experts because of all the many years they've been around wrestling. I've got underwear in my drawer that are older than either one of them. And he thinks that's the way you book, which is why the fucking show looks like it does. So what?
Yeah, he said there, this is a way of getting as many people on the show as possible.
Yes. Get everybody you can on the show. Get everybody a payoff. This is Make-A-Wish. We're operating Make-A-Wish here. All these guys that want to be wrestlers and always have wanted to be wrestlers in the worst way possible, and that's exactly how they do it, now get to be wrestlers on Tony Khan's dime because he thinks that people like the fucking Cucamonga kids are wrestling experts. They're experts in doing this kind of shit that you see them do that appeals to a small group of people, and most people walking around go, what the fuck is that shit all about? And that's where we are. But now they're getting a chance to do it on television.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to episode 254 of the Hoots podcast. Hope you're having a wonderful week so far. It's yours truly, the nefarious brother Adam. Record this podcast every single week on Apple Podcasts, free of charge, anywhere you get your podcasts from. Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, all the lovely platforms that host this great podcast. It's yours truly, like I said, Joshie Lopez. You can follow me on Twitter at Josh Lopez Media, or on Instagram at Joshie Lopez 94, or at Josh Lopez Music. On the program this week, we got a lot to discuss as we're in the middle of a transition period after WrestleMania. WrestleMania Backlash will be coming up in just about a month from this week. And we got Impact Wrestling's Rebellion pay-per-view, which I'll be making predictions for that particular show in our main event segment, What the Hell is Wrong with AEW? And, of course, we have the Thoughts of Dericho with the one and only Brother Carter at the end of the podcast. All that being said, I hope you have had a wonderful week. It's been a very busy week on my end. Obviously, covering every damn wrestling show known to man. Also, I got my vaccine shot this week, so I've been feeling good. Knock on wood, right? I got my first vaccine shot. In good spirits with all that, and then I'm going to get my second one on May 11th. So right a little after my birthday, I'll get the second shot, be all cleared, and probably take my next trip down to Florida before I move down there. So I'm really looking forward to that. Anyways, I want you guys to make sure to bookmark ProWrestlingTranscriptions.com, and I'm really proud of the website and what it represents and what I do with that particular website. And if you have shows that you don't have the time to watch or pay for, I cover them for you. That's the point of ProWrestlingTranscriptions.com. It's there for you to be the ultimate point of reference in the world of professional wrestling. And so check out the website. I'll be covering Rebellion this weekend, and I've been doing a bunch of Road to Wrestling Dontaku shows for New Japan Pro Wrestling as well. So just a lot of content on that website. Anyways, one last piece of business before we get to the Good Brothers Q&A session. All I ask is for you guys to subscribe and download the podcast. And if you're on Apple Podcasts, leave us a review. Tell us what you like or dislike about the podcast, and then we'll go from there. So enough jibber jabbing. Let's get to the Good Brothers Q&A session. Good Brothers Q&A session drops every single week. This is the time where I answer questions about sports, mental health, relationships, pro wrestling, other stuff that we don't have time to make in our own separate segments on the Hoots podcast. So the Good Brothers Q&A session, we do this every single week. It's my favorite segment of the week because I get to interact with you guys. You guys do a great job sending questions each and every single week. And I'm going to start it with Chris Zaletta at XTeenZaletta24X, good brother of the Hoots podcast and the TBD Wrestling podcast as well. Oh, man, starting off hot right off the gate. Holy shit. Your top 5 most hated Packer players. Oh, man. Chris, I think this is the best question you've ever asked me. Oh, okay. Number 1, and without a shadow of a doubt, is Aaron Rodgers. I can't stand this dude. I'm sorry. I'm not a fan. Talk about media darlings and just Aaron Rodgers. He could be 1, 2, 3, 4 if I. That's how much I can't stand it, dude. Number 2 is Clay Matthews. 3 is Greg Jennings. 4 is James Jones. I can't stand him. I think he sucks on the NFL Network. And then 5 is, I can't even say Charles Woodson because I actually liked him when I was younger when he was with the Oakland Raiders, so I can't really put him on the list. You know what? I'll just go with Darius Smith. I don't know. The guy seems cocky. I don't know. Those are like my 5. Oh, man. Matt says he stole my high school crush. That's funny, man. Yeah, that's a great question, Chris. Top 5 hated Packers. I think it'd be too much of an obvious statement to be like, oh, I hate every player in the Packers. Yeah, no shit. I'm a Bears fan. Here's another one. Which ECW One Night Stand was better in your mind, 05 or 06? I love both shows, so don't get me wrong there. I think 05 is the better show from top to bottom. Just for the atmosphere, the matches, it really captured what the original ECW was that night. I'm not saying that 06 didn't, but 05 is one of the best like wrestling pay-per-views of all time. So I think 05 is my favorite One Night Stand. Which brand do you think we see Roderick Strong on? That's a good question. I could definitely see Roderick Strong on Raw. The thing is that Raw seems more to have that more emphasis of longer wrestling matches, so I think Roderick Strong would be a good addition for that roster and a good addition for like the U.S. title picture scene, you know? So I think Roderick Strong on Raw would be a good fit for him. What more can we expect from this Bliss and Fiend story? That's a good question. Like I mentioned last week, the cool thing about what happened at WrestleMania is that, you know, usually with the Fiend, it's all about getting receipts on performers who did Bray Wyatt wrong in the past. But with the Fiend now, the table's been flipped on him. How does the Fiend react to somebody turning their back on him? That's what I'm interested in seeing. So what more can we expect? I'm not a person that really deals with expectations. I just like to process things as it happens, and then I react following that. You know, that's just how I look at things. So I'm excited. Alexa's still cutting good promos in her playground segments. One of the good segments on Raw each week. And again, blissful waterfall. Very good. Next question. Do you think we'll ever see Willow's Jeff Hardy alter ego gimmick in WWE? I don't think so, unfortunately. I think a lot of what Jeff Hardy wanted to do in this latest run with WWE has been kind of hidden through the fact that there hasn't been fans. Like, I know there was a big thing about him getting his old theme song back when he was the champion. I forgot the name of the song, but yeah, like there was like a lot of stuff that he wanted to do. I think he, out of anybody that's has been hindered the most with not having fans there, and you barely see him on the shows now, which is unfortunate. I don't know if he's injured or something, but hopefully we see something new with Jeff Hardy whenever he gets back on TV soon, or maybe he's just waiting out his contract. Who knows? Who outside of NWA would you like to see challenge Nick Aldis for the NWA title? Well, it's definitely not Kenny Olivier. That's for sure. I think for me, outside of the NWA, I think Eddie Edwards fighting Nick Aldis for the NWA World Heavyweight Championship, the 10 pounds of gold, would be a good match. Him against Rich Swann, or, I mean, you can pick anybody from Impact to add on to that list, but I don't know about AEW guys, but we'll see. Your thoughts on the WWE releases? Best company fits for those talents? Gotta take a swig of water for that. Ah, man. The funny thing about this is that once I was done recording last week's show, literally an hour after that, they dropped out this whole list of the performers that got released, and obviously, it's very unfortunate when we see talented people get let go of promotions, no matter which promotion it is. I mentioned it last week that Samoa Joe, he's the biggest one for me that I don't understand why he was let go. He had two things. Either he wanted to leave or he just wasn't going to get medically cleared. But I thought Samoa Joe would have been a great boost for Raw with him coming back as a singles performer. And I guess things didn't work out. I don't know why he got let go. I don't. I know a lot of people be like, "Oh, Samoa Joe should go to AEW," but honestly, I don't want Joe to go to AEW because anytime they bring in like a dominant big guy from other promotions, they just lose to the small dudes or like the Darby Allins of the world or Jon Moxley, and it's like you killed your buzz. Is Brian Cage much of a main eventer now than he was when he first came to AEW? Is Lance Archer a main event guy? Like, I don't know. I think Joe would be a good fit for New Japan. That would be my guess. I think the Iconics could be an Impact as well. You know, I know a lot of stuff at AEW, like tapping into stuff in the past, so maybe Bo Dallas could go there. But with the list of performers that are released, I think the only one that surprised me was Samoa Joe. So that would be my answer for that question. Oh, here's an interesting one. If we get CM Punk versus Will Ospreay in the future, does it happen in Japan or America? Some kind of G1 show. For me, I hope it'd be in Japan. I just think it'd be cool for Punk. I don't know his history in Japan. I think he's done some stuff for like All Japan Pro Wrestling. I don't know if he's ever been in New Japan before. So for Punk, I just think career-wise for him, it would be better to have that match in Japan than in America. Of course, they could sell out Madison Square Garden or something like that, but having Punk and Ospreay in a New Japan ring at a Tokyo Dome show, I think would be really special. And Punk against Ospreay at Wrestle Kingdom would be big-time box office, pal. That's just how I see it. So I don't know about you guys. Would you prefer CM Punk versus Will Ospreay in Japan or in America? That's a good question. Okay, let's go down to the next batch of questions here, which we got from King Ajar. King, a good member of the TBD Wrestling Podcast. Here's a good question. What's your beef with Nia Jax? Where do I start? Where's your beef with Killer Cross? Here's my thing with Nia Jax. I have no personal issues with her as a person. I don't know her. I'm not good at regards what she is as a person. That's not what I do here on this podcast. I just think she's the drizzling shits in the ring. I don't buy her character. I'm Nia Jax. You should put me over everything. I'm Nia Jax. I'm The Rock's cousin. You should give me everything. That's her character in a nutshell. And the thing for me is like, okay, you're big and menacing, but there's nothing else to you. That's it. Like, she does absolutely nothing for me. She has charisma of drywall. That's just how I view Nia Jax. I think the only feud I ever liked with her was the one she had with Alexa Bliss, and a lot of people crapped over that feud too. So I think she's really brought down the stock of Shayna Baszler, which is unfortunate. But like Nia just comes off with this vibe like, I'm Nia Jax, I'm entitled to everything. I'm great, you're not. No. Like, okay, dude, just go home. I don't want to say go the fuck home and stay the fuck home, but for me, I'm just indifferent to Nia Jax whenever she's on my screen. Second question from King is, will WWE ever be cool again to a casual fan? What constitutes cool in 2021? Because I think the casual fans from WWE are on Twitter. The people that say, oh, I haven't really been watching, but they just pop up and know all the storylines during the night of a pay-per-view, or this on a random episode of Raw, they just tell you everything that's wrong with WWE. We need to really do some like deep research as far as what is actually over or not in WWE, because as I keep saying, since the pandemic started, I've seen people are trying to watch as if 20,000 people are there, and they're not. And whether WWE is cool in your eyes is subjected to another person. What I may like of WWE, you may not like. So, is it cool to hardcore wrestling marks who like to go on soapboxes about booking? Probably not. Is it cool to people who enjoy entertainment and enjoy different aspects of professional wrestling that's not just wrestling the entire time? Maybe. Is it cool as it was in the Attitude Era? No. Is it more cooler than the Ruthless Aggression Era? No. I don't think it has to. But I don't think it's at this point where it's a brand that is not appealing on any level. Their business says otherwise. As far as like being cool to casual fans, it's a topic that we need to do on like a separate show. You know, it would have to be like a full time segment, because just to say, oh, it's not cool when your only basis of whether WWE is cool or not on Twitter is something that I don't put stock into, because Twitter is very misleading as far as what's over and not, in my opinion. That's just how I look at things. Number 3, top 5 rappers, not including Biggie Smalls. Well, damn, come on, man. Biggie, B-I-G-G-E? No? All right. Top 5 rappers. Okay. Number 1 would be Tupac, Jay-Z, Eminem, 50 Cent, and I don't know. It's like you could add like a whole separate category of Snoop Dogg and Nas and Ice Cube. I would put Ice Cube, even with all the comedy movies and stuff he did. Ice Cube was a great rapper back then. It's tough, man. I'll definitely say Tupac, Jay-Z, Eminem, 50 Cent, and then it's hard to choose from the other list, man. This is like a lot of good rappers over the years. Got stuck in a conundrum there, pal. Yeah, those are the ones that come off the top of my head. All right. Next questions for the podcast this week come from, one second here, from Nate the Great. Yes. Nate the Great at Psycho Nigiri on Twitter. Another good brother from the Pipe Bomb in the Cool Days. Okay. Here we go. One second here. Got it right here. Yes. Maybe a little too soon to tell. But who do you think will thrive the most outside of the Undisputed Era? I think it's definitely Adam Cole. I don't know if the current Kyle O'Reilly that I'm seeing on XT is going to amount to anything as far as the babyface is concerned. I don't know where they're going with that, but I think Adam Cole has a good shot. I don't want to write off Bobby Fish, but he's kind of writing himself off for the fact that dude gets injured all the time. I respect what he does in the ring, but as far as like characters and the overall package, it's definitely Adam Cole. They'll thrive the most for that group. What is one way they can improve Raw, SmackDown, and NXT? Well, here's the thing. And Nick Khan's been mentioning this a lot in his recent interviews. WWE right now is not, the way they're structured business-wise is not curtailed to what you think a regular professional wrestling company is supposed to be. It's a content-based entity. It's not just, oh, here's our signature show, and that's it. That's the total representation of WWE. I don't think necessarily that you just need Raw and SmackDown to be the only indicators whether WWE's on the right track or not. Now, those are the two marquee shows with long-lasting history, but just like you have Marvel and DC and all these different companies, you have different things that appeal to different subjects of your fan base. Like, for me, my favorite show that WWE pumps out every week is NXT UK. You can have your fill of WWE if it's not just Raw and SmackDown. I think like a lot of us are still stuck in this mindset of the 90s and, okay, this is our Raw and SmackDown, and whether that show is good or not is an indicator of where the company's at. It's not the case anymore. What could they improve on? I just think they need to take a step back and think about two things. One is, what are the matches on TV that are necessary to placate to the feuds that you're telling on the shows? And then secondly, and this is not just WWE, this is all these promotions, I think we need to have like a big convention with producers and wrestlers where we get to a point where we could come up with better finishes than roll-ups and crucifix and small packages and inside cradles whenever two wrestlers in the ring and neither want to be look like a fool or buried if they take a signature move on television. Those are the two things off the top of my head because, yeah, of course, the easiest thing to be like, oh, they should get rid of their writing team. Yeah, no shit. That's like the most obvious statement you can make. But like for me, the way you can improve your show, come up with a better map, come up with a better plan to have more interesting television matches and matches for a reason than just doing a rematch is the same thing doing a rematch. And like I mentioned earlier, as far as like mapping out a match, like, you know, just because you have, let's say, Kofi Kingston against Drew McIntyre. Better example. Let's say it's Kofi Kingston and Matt Riddle, right? You got two baby faces. Just because they're baby faces and they fight each other, just because like Matt Riddle beats Kofi with his signature move, does not mean Kofi Kingston is buried on that show. You know what I mean? Like, there's different ways you can go about telling your stories. Than I think like a lot of wrestling promotions play scared sometimes because they don't stick to their convictions and they allow Twitter and peer pressure to do the things that they do. And, yeah, that's just something I'd like to see changed. What has been the happiest day of your life so far? Oh, man. That's a great question, man. I mentioned this before. The happiest day of my life was the day that I found myself. June 25th, 2019. Oviedo, Florida. The happiest day of my life. A lot of things went down that day, and it's brought me to where your boy's at right now. So June 25th, 2019 is the best day of my life because I found myself. I found that I'm good enough for me, and that's a damn good feeling. And that maybe one day I'll tell the whole story of why that went down, but yeah, that's my favorite day of my life so far. Who has the best character in wrestling today? Oh, King. I want to perk up your ears. I think you're going to enjoy this answer. It's Killer Cross for me. The dude comes off with this Punisher vibe. Every time I see Scarlet Bordeaux, it's like waterfall heaven. It's like I thank the God of Lake Michigan for blessing the waterfall that Scarlet Bordeaux has. He's one of my favorite characters in wrestling. I say MJF too. He's great at what he does. I wouldn't say like Hangman Page is a great character. He's a good wrestler, but would I call him the best character? No. Yeah, I love Killer Cross. He's the freaking man. So, let's see here. Yeah, that's a great question. I look at the shows and, you have characters on the show that are good, and then you have the other ones is hit and miss. Like, no, I'm not a fan of Stunted Growth. No, I'm not a fan of Luchasaurus. Man. I'm curious to see what they do with Xia Li in NXT. I mean, her character's been interesting, I guess. I am a big fan of LA Knight. That guy's fantastic. You know what? I know he's not big as he was about a couple years ago, but I love what Seth Rollins has been doing with like the Embrace the Vision. I was all into with the Monday Night Messiah stuff, but also this what he's doing now, him like going on Twitter and saying on tweets with all caps and the Seth Rollins drip and stuff like that. He's fantastic. And then the other character I mentioned is Sami Zayn doing this like conspiracy theory. The only thing that's not a conspiracy when it comes to Sami Zayn is that his theme song still sucks. But yeah, there's some good characters here and there. Let's see. What's the next question here? We're going to go to Sam Piopo, my good brother. He does Sexy Sam's Hot Takes. Appreciate you saying questions. Always good, brother. Yes, Matt. Yeah, we'll have that debate soon. I don't know what the hell King is smoking. He needs to be drug tested. Here we go. Here's a question. A food that you absolutely just cannot eat, and explain why. Oh, that's a great question. I'll tell you what. For me, it's meatloaf. It's two things. Meatloaf and tacos. Those two can go the fuck home and stay the fuck home as far as I'm concerned. If I wanted prison food, I'll just go to prison, okay? I can't stand meatloaf, and I sure as hell can't eat regular tacos. Nope. No thank you. I'm not interested. No. I mean, you can have Brussels sprouts, but I don't know. What are foods that you don't like? Like, for me, I can't stand meatloaf, and I can't stand regular tacos. And you'd be like, Josh, what do you mean you're Hispanic? Well, I'm not Mexican. I'm Puerto Rican. Just because I'm Hispanic doesn't mean I have to love tacos. So I don't know. That's a good question. I could go on a rant about meatloaf and tacos as being this random plain ass food. Yeah, those are the ones on my list. Who's the first big name to leave AEW because they're unhappy? Oh, that's a good question. My two guesses are either MJF or the Young Bucks. Sooner or later, and this is true about life, when you get into business with friends, and you guys are in the boardroom, and you're in the executive room, and you're part of the booking committee, and sooner or later, just the trajectory of the professional wrestling business, something's about to come up, and egos are going to get in the way. So I think either MJF or the Young Bucks will be the ones to leave AEW first. Do you think Walter can be the modern day Bruno when it comes to title reign length? I think so, man. He the first thing with Walter is when you see him, one, he has credibility, two, he has the it factor, and three is, who do you actually believe could bring him down? on any roster, on any show that's not named Brock Lesnar, that's not on the shows right now. Could Roman Reigns be Walter? Maybe. Maybe not. Could Kenny Omega beat Walter? Come on. Would anybody believe that Kenny Omega's Mickey Mouse V-Triggers would beat Walter? Come on. I think Walter could have a great title reign. Could it be 7 years? We'll have to see. a lot of wrestling fans don't have patience for that, so I doubt that would happen. Who ultimately dethrones Roman Reigns? Another good question. I think the guy that dethrones Roman Reigns is Drew McIntyre. Whether it's at a WrestleMania or something, or they have the draft and Drew goes to SmackDown, I do think that Drew McIntyre is the one that would put down Roman Reigns. That would be my guess. Of course, you could say Big E or some other young guy in the mid card. I just don't see it yet with those guys. Maybe Big E would be the exception to that, but I think Drew McIntyre would be my pick as the one to take down Roman Reigns. I love their matches in Survivor Series. They have great chemistry in the ring with each other, and Drew McIntyre is the man, so I think he would be the one to take down Roman Reigns. Do you ever see Sami Zayn as World Championship material? It's all about timing, I guess. He was the NXT champion. Do I see him being as a top marquee world champion and main eventing pay-per-views? No, I don't. I love what he does. I love him as a performer and what he does in the ring as a wrestler, but I don't see him as a top-level world championship guy. I just don't. Could it be something where he has a title reign for a month, like he wins Money in the Bank and cashes in? I think that'd be cool. Like, you have Sami Zayn win the Money in the Bank ladder match this year. I wouldn't have a problem with that. But do I see him as like a dominant world champion? No, I do not. Advice for people who are stuck at home in their own minds. By the way, I want to send a special shout out to your lady, Hannah. Good brother. I hope she feels better. She's dealing with her stuff right now. You're in my thoughts, Hannah. Thoughts with you as well, my brother. Here's the thing, Sam. And this thing's been going on for about over a year now with this COVID stuff and quarantine and doing all this stuff. My advice for people who are stuck at home is to really tap into finding yourself and breaking yourself down to the point where you need to build yourself back up. I know that a big aspect of COVID-19, this pandemic, is mental health. And a lot of people have taken their mental health for granted, kind of shunned the idea of mental health and be like, oh, it's okay, you just push through. Get over it. No, mental health is a real issue as any other issue that we all go through as human beings. I think for me, my advice is to really take this time to tap into the things that make you happy and doing that as much as you can throughout the day. And, really start getting back into the groove of having real communication with people and having real deep conversations with people. I mentioned before, man, I had my heart broken a couple years ago. And I think this pandemic really helped me open my eyes to a lot of things coming out of that situation. And it's because I really took the time to take a step back and reevaluate how I was looking at things, how I processed things, what I was doing wrong in situations, and not like taking my issues out on other people. Because deep down, if you're not bettering yourself as a person during this pandemic, then why are you here? That's my thing. I'm so grateful that I have a platform like this where this could be my therapy and I could be myself and I can speak without anybody's feelings getting in my way of recording the show for what it is. I love doing this. I love recording the show for you guys because that's why I love doing this, because this is my therapy. It takes weight off my shoulders throughout the week, and it's something to look forward to. So, honestly, man, take this time for you to better yourself. That's the only thing you can do during this time period. But I appreciate those questions, man. Those are good ones. Okay. So the next questions here we're going to go to here. The last batch of questions this week comes from Matt McCool at Matt McCool24 on Twitter. He is the host of the TBD Wrestling Podcast. Hold on one second. Okay, there you go. All right. Here's the questions from Matt. He says, what is the ideal scenario this season for the Bears? If you were Ryan Pace, how do you approach this season and give realistic expectations? Well, the first thing that I'm going to do is understand that you're not going to find your marquee quarterback in this draft. We're drafting at 20, and I just don't think you're going to get to that point. I don't know who would be available at that time for you to pick up and be like, okay, this is the guy that's going to save our job. So I think for me, it'd be like, hey, let's try to find like a offensive tackle. Let's find a guy to replace Kyle Fuller. Like, check out Greg Newsome from Northwestern, who's the cornerback, if he's still available. Take that guy. I don't think there's any quarterback in this draft class that's be like, okay, I'm going to trade 4 first-round picks for. You're not getting Zach Wilson. You're probably not going to get Justin Fields. You're probably not going to get Trey Lance either. So, I know this is a great class of quarterbacks, but are any of these outside Trevor Lawrence actually going to be the marquee guy? No. So I think when it comes to like the Bears, my expectations would be just to, we got this hand where we got Andy Dalton being the bridge, right? And the thing is to make sure that you're taking your team to the next level instead of building for the future because, Brian Pace and Matt Nagy are on the hot seat. And I think for me, when it comes to this question, like they need to really do right by the team in the future. Don't take projects. Find people that are going to make this team good this year for what it is. And I think that would be my strategy for the Bears. You're not finding your franchise quarterback this offseason. You're just not. So, next question. What can be done to make Raw must-see again? Well, I think for me, making the show TV-14 doesn't constitute that because AEW is TV-14 and that show is not must-see in my eyes. So I think for me, when it comes to Raw, is really bring back that energy. And it goes back to one of my biggest issues I have with WWE is the way that they're producing their commentary and the energy of the shows. You could really tie in a lot of loose ends when you don't have your play-by-play commentators act confused. When you're having your announcers confused, you're leaving your audience confused because those are the people that are narrating and directing the show for you as the show's going on. And this is the dynamic of how WWE commentary is produced. A lot of ways takes away from the enjoyment and processing of what's going on in these shows. I think a lot of the stuff was in the Attitude Era was good. Also, to the point because Jim Ross made it feel important to you. And yeah, it's okay to say, oh, everybody on Raw has storylines. But also, for the stuff that was stupid on the show, JR covered that with his energy. And more times than not, he protected a lot of the stupid shit that Vince Russo did back in the day with the Attitude Era. It's not perfect. I always say this, you're naive to think that the Attitude Era was always perfect 24/7. So what can be done to make Raw must-see again? Like I mentioned earlier, find better TV matches throughout the week than just doing rematches for the sake of doing rematches. And also, have better energy from your commentary team. I know it may be small to other people, but it really does wonders when you have a good commentary team on your show. On this list of young AEW wrestlers, Jungle Boy, Darby Allin, MJF, Hangman Page, Orange Cassidy, and Phoenix, who has the highest ceiling and who would you build a company around? I think the highest ceiling for me is MJF. I definitely would build a company around him. I'm kind of old school in how I view professional wrestling, so having that traditional top guy heel in your promotion and having people chase after him with the guys you listed on that list, Matt, those are great guys that can go after MJF, and he would be the one that I would pick as the highest ceiling for me. 1 second here. Let me pull up these other questions as we continue on here. Okay, just 1 second, guys. And no, he would be the one that I would pick as the highest ceiling for me. No, we don't want that. There you go. For someone who has never seen MLW, give me a taste of what can I expect on Vice. By the way, congrats to MLW and what they're doing right now. It's really cool that they are going to be airing their shows on Vice. I've been covering MLW for the last couple years, and I'm very happy for Court Bauer and the entire crew there for the fact that they are putting their shows on a bigger platform now, and people are getting to enjoy their brand. Their show is really a hybrid-based wrestling promotion where it's not just one style of wrestling. They have a lot of meshes of wrestling, but this promotion out of anyone has like the biggest sports feel when it comes to like the way the show's shot. They have a running clock during the matches. The way they address injuries and stuff, the format of the show, commentary. What you can expect from MLW is really a sports-based fight promotion. It's like you get the best of pro wrestling, MMA, and real-life sports in MLW. That's what you can get from the show. They have a great faction in Contra. Hail Contra! That's their top faction. You have Alexander Hamilton, who's a great wrestler. You got an MJF style character and Richard Holiday, who's really good at what he does. They have the best interviewer in the business, Alicia Toot. So she's on the show as well. It's a great show. I'm very happy for my guy Ray Flores, who I knew from the Illinois Center for Broadcasting. My buddy there, he does the play-by-play on that show, so it's really cool to see Ray Flores doing what he's doing on there. And then, I definitely say for the folks, give MLW a shot. It's good. It's a lot of fun to watch, and it's a good brand. You should check it out. Let's see what else Matt here had for these questions here. You guys sent a lot of great questions this week, by the way. I just got to give you a shout out. Here we go. Thoughts on Pat McAfee joined the SmackDown commentary team. I love it. I think Pat did a fantastic job on Friday night. I really enjoyed what he did. I'm a big fan of Pat McAfee. He's on SmackDown. I love what he does in this show where he's like, he has Bear Down or SmackDown. And the interview he did with Michael Cole last week on the Pat McAfee show was really good. I think these two could do a really good job. I wouldn't say that him and Corey Graves are not a good group because I liked it because it's a two-man booth. But even then, you could start to realize that even then their commentary sounded a lot like a video game than live reactions as it was happening. Pat just brings a different feel and approach to what he does on air. He's a great talent wise on broadcasting, and I think he's a good fit for SmackDown. I'm not gonna jump on his case if he makes mistakes and stuff. That it's unrealistic. And we'll see what happens as it goes on. But I thought Pat did a great job on Friday night, and he's gonna be a good addition for that brand. Okay, last batch of questions here. He says, "Is it a good excuse to say you're busy and have been studying, working as a reason to respond to someone 6 days later when they share good news?" No, I don't think it's a good excuse, but it's also something that you don't need to tap energy into. You rescind the energy that comes your way. If somebody's not going to respond to you immediately after, you share good news, or they're kind of like have a apathetic response to it or indifferent response to it, that tells you everything you need to know about that person. They really don't care about what you have to say or what you're doing at that particular time. So I don't think it's a good excuse, but it's also something you shouldn't waste any energy on, because whether it's a girlfriend, whether it's a friend or anything like that, flaky energy is just going to do you no favors. Next question. When is enough appropriate when it comes to someone wasting your time? I think when it comes to the point where, not necessarily when somebody's wasting your time, but when somebody starts disrespecting you. No matter how long you've been friends or in a relationship with somebody, if you start disrespecting them, like, you can make a lot of compromises and a lot of sacrifices and a lot of different things to put to the side to keep a relationship going, right? We all can meet in the middle of a lot of things. But when it starts getting to the point where you're getting disrespected and your feelings are being disregarded, and you feel like what you say has no meaning or merit to what the dynamic is of your relationship or your friendship with somebody, then that's the part where you get to enough is enough. I got to that point recently, and I said what I needed to say, you know. I think the great thing about having relationships and real love is tapping into when you know to speak up, because you can't have your partner run over you. You can't have your friend neglect what you think or how you feel. It doesn't work that way. And go back to what I mentioned earlier with Sam's question, like, I think a lost art in society today is having that real conversation, real dialogue, real face-to-face conversations, because we're so damn fixated by texting, because texting is a cop-out. Texting allows you to play games. Texting allows you to run away from real conversations and get to the root of things. So you would rather have a conversation with somebody on text where you automatically put yourself in a position where you misinterpret what somebody's saying, and then flip it around and start blaming the person that's not doing anything wrong to you. And it's just an odd thing that I have no respect for, and something that I don't do. Maybe I'm old school in how I do things in relationships and stuff like that, but enough is enough is when you start feeling disrespected. We all have our time wasted in friendships and relationships. That's just bound to happen at times. But one thing you cannot tolerate is disrespect. I don't care if you're in a relationship with somebody, whether you're dating somebody or you're friends with somebody. You just cannot tolerate disrespect on any level. Oh, man. Last question for Matt here. He says, what was the best part of the whole experience of going to WrestleMania 37? Oh, it's just that. It's a big moment in my life to say that I went to a WrestleMania in a pandemic. It's not something I'll brag about, but it's something I'll never forget either. Just being there in person at the stadium and feeling that special moment when the locker room came out on the stage before Vince McMahon did his speech, and seeing the guys just get super excited to see the fans. Like, Sami Zayn was, like, marking out, even though he's a heel, which was really funny. Like, you saw, like, real, genuine emotion come out of these performers when they were walking onto the stage before WrestleMania. And I hope it's something that they show on, like, the 24 specials, whatever they do for this WrestleMania. Because it was a really, really emotional and special moment. I think for me, just being at the shows, getting to meet my friends like Drew Baydala and Blake Mitchelmore and Damian Nelson and Chris Van Vliet, like, those are the memories that I remember, and it was really special for me. The Friday night when I got down to Tampa, I took a trip down to the merchandise store. That's where I got this t-shirt, by the way. I went to the WrestleMania shop, and I took about 40 minutes to walk around the stadium of Raymond James Stadium to really tap into, like, the vibe and the energy around the stadium. And some people don't know this about me. I've done this for every WrestleMania I've attended. this was my 5th WrestleMania that I attended, and I did this. I did it in New Orleans. I did it in Orlando. I did it in San Francisco, and I've done it, obviously, being home in Chicago, the Rosemont Horizon. So for me, this was a business trip for me. I really did not have a lot of time to go, like, do a lot of touristy stuff and stuff that I want to do. I'll probably do that for my next vacation. But for me, what was really special is just being there to witness history, to see Sasha and Bianca have their moment, to see what Bad Bunny did on the show, to see Edge back at a WrestleMania and wrestle in person again. That was really special. To see Roman Reigns. You know, this t-shirt right here has a lot of significance to me for a lot of reasons. And this is another reason why I look up to Roman Reigns. He's one of my favorite wrestlers. Just the whole experience of it as a whole. Going to these shows, being there, doing the transcripts the next morning of those shows. And it's an experience that I'll never forget. It is. It's an experience I'll never forget. And I can't wait till they do like a 24 special on this WrestleMania because it's going to be pretty special. You know, get to experience a WrestleMania with a rain delay. Everything that went into it, the good and the bad, it was something that I'll never forget. So that was the best part of the trip for me. All right, folks. That's good. Put a ribbon on the bow as far as questions this week. I do want to thank Matt and Chris and Sam and King for sending some awesome questions this week, and Nate the Great as well. Don't want to forget about him. Before take a swig of water here. Before we wrap up this Q&A session, I want to talk a little bit about trusting your instincts, a topic that's very, very important in life and in relationships. I think a lot of issues in society really starts within, and the biggest thing in life right now that's getting in the way of proper and healthy relationships on any level is self-awareness and trusting your instincts. If you can't see what's in front of you, if you don't listen to what's inside your heart and not hear, being here in your head is a dangerous place. It can be useful. I'm not going to say that using your brain is not useful or a good resource mechanism for you, but honestly, to look at how you handle yourself as a person, you got to tap into what's inside your heart. And I think trusting instincts is part of that. You have to trust what's inside of you. What's your heart telling you? You know, I've learned a lot from the decisions I made for my life, the good ones and the bad ones. And I think what sort of always helped me in my life is the fact that I always listen to my heart first before I listen to my head. I trust my instincts, and I'm self-aware to excuse me. I'm self-aware to the things that are important to me, and I'm also self-aware to avoid the things that don't matter to me. So, like, for me, I enjoy what I do for a living. I enjoy the fact of coming out here and recording a show for you guys. I trust my instincts, the fact that I can be myself, and nothing anybody says will have any effect on me. I trust the instincts in my heart of opening myself and being vulnerable to a person and taking a risk to go beat their family, just to show that effort and to have the acknowledgement of my love for that person. You gotta trust your instincts because you know what's good for you inside. If you're just tapping into what's inside your head, it's just not gonna do you any favors. You gotta trust your instincts. Be self-aware. Even when there's signs for stuff that you don't want to be a part of, it's part of life. You just gotta honestly, like, take that risk and be like, you know what? You gotta see things for yourself too at the same time. You gotta take the risk and also understand that if things don't go your way, don't lose yourself. I think that's very important, especially in relationships. Don't lose yourself. If these don't go well in a relationship that you want to work out, don't let them be a reflection of you. Learn and adapt and take positive things away from that experience, and helps you grow into your next relationship or whatever aspect of your life it is. So, just want to talk about that a little bit. I want to thank you guys, though, for hanging out with me for this Good Brothers Q&A session. It was a lot of fun. And thanks, guys, again for the questions. And make sure to stick around. When we come back, I'll go into what happened this week in WWE right here on the Hoots Podcast. Welcome back to the Hoots Podcast, everybody. Hope you're having a wonderful week so far. It's time to talk about what happened this week in WWE. We're on the road to WrestleMania Backlash pay-per-view coming up on May 16th in 2021. And only confirmed match we have right now is Bobby Lashley against Drew McIntyre for the WWE Championship. Obviously, the gist of the pay-per-view is WrestleMania Backlash, so you see a lot of rematches on that said event. But I do want to talk a little bit about some of the stuff that happened this week on programming. Start off with SmackDown this past Friday night, where a big spotlight case was on Cesaro. A lot of recaps of him doing the Cesaro swing on Seth Rollins and also the UFO move. I talked about it earlier with the Q&A session about Pat McAfee joining the concert team, and I thought he did a great job, so it was cool to see him on the show. She'll start off with Roman Reigns. And I want to read this part of the promo here. I thought it was really interesting. He said, you had Paul Heyman talk about the accolades of Edge, Daniel Bryan, right? And then Roman Reigns said, I took a page from your playbook. I Babe Ruthed it. I called it. I called my shot. I'm going to smash them. I'm going to stack them. And I'm going to pin them. 1, 2, 3. Then they acknowledged me. And let's be honest. It's embarrassing. If I was another man, I would never want to be put in that situation. They'll probably never put me in the Triple Threat match again because of what I did. Nobody wants to face me. Nobody wants me to do that to them. These are Hall of Famers. Smash them, stack them, pin them, 1, 2, 3. And then these Hall of Famers acknowledge me in front of the whole world. And if I'm doing that to men like that, who's going to want it next? Nobody. Nobody. Though nobody want to step to me now. Though nobody want to put their reputation on the line for this. It's not worth it. Can't nobody stack up to me. Nobody's on my level. So we fulfilled our obligation. We opened my show SmackDown. Paul, tell him to cut the check, fire up the jet. It's time to go. Roman Reigns is a freaking man. Let me just throw that out there really quick. He's the man. We saw Rey Mysterio defeat Otis on SmackDown. We had a little something in the backstage with Apollo Crews and Aziz, as I think that's who they're calling it now, Commander Aziz. Now, coming off this, after what happened at WrestleMania, I thought his conversation on SmackDown was kind of interesting as far as why he has Aziz as his running man. Talking Smack does a good job tying in like the loose ends on the feuds on SmackDown, in my opinion. We saw another match with Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. Kevin Owens won via countout, so it looks like things are far from over between those two. I want to give big props to Bianca Belair for her promo that she cut on SmackDown last week. That was my favorite part of the show. She's all that and then some, man. Everybody talking about being the full package and all that. She's just that in a nutshell. She is everything that she says she is. And that's the great thing about her. And the cool thing about her, you can tell that she's a genuine person, too. So you want to root for her as a baby face. So I really like that promo. I thought Sasha's reactions in the backstage was so forced and disingenuous facial reactions. I was not surprised that Bayley already tried to insert himself into getting another shot at the title, so I was not surprised by that. I think, I'll say that for another show. We had the Dirty Dogs retain over the Street Profits, so we got to put the Street Profits on the back burner for a little bit and give some other teams a shot at the tag team titles. Though I don't think these two teams are done fighting each other, so let's see what happens. But the main event of the show was Jey Uso against Cesaro. Cesaro won via disqualification due to the attack from Seth Rollins. Things are far from over for him and Cesaro, so obviously that's going to be part of the WrestleMania Backlash show. And I don't have an issue with that. You don't have to rush into Cesaro versus Roman Reigns. And we didn't see Edge and Daniel Bryan on the show, which I thought was an interesting decision, but also from an old school point of view, you can understand why they were not on the show and to sell the effect of the dominance and probably the embarrassment that both of them had being pinned like that at WrestleMania. So we'll see if we hear anything from them this week. I thought SmackDown was okay. I didn't think it was anything like great or anything like that, but I thought the show was fine for what it was. Monday Night Raw this week. Show back at the Ewing Center in Tampa Bay. Still trying to get a gist of this new commentary team. I haven't had any full thoughts on Anna and Burke yet. Sometimes I can't really recognize him because him and Byron Saxton have a similar texture in their voice. So it's kind of hard to pinpoint like who's talking at times. I thought Grace was great on Monday. I thought he was his dynamic with Saxton is fantastic. It never gets old, especially the stuff with the Miz and Maurice. And well, you can tell Byron's never had a successful relationship, and just like the singers between those two was great, man. It really reminds me of the dynamic of Adam and Derek. You know, like my guy Adam Daly, my brother. He always had a great time busting chops with Brett Carter on the show list, and those were always a lot of fun. So the show started off with Drew McIntyre and MVP and T-Bar and Mace. You know, each week I try to tell people, like, it's very important that you got to maximize your TV time. Whether the storyline you're in, whether the match you're in doesn't live up to other people's expectations, you got to live up to what's given to you and make the best out of it, because you are always auditioning in some light in professional wrestling, right? You're always auditioning to be put on a higher level in the promotion that you're in. You're auditioning to take your stock to the next level in general, whether you get opportunities in Hollywood. You're auditioning and trying to better yourself each and every single week. And I got to give props to Mason T-Bar. They wrestled 2 matches. Yes, they lost. Yes, they removed their masks, and maybe the way they got to them was stupid. But I thought, as far as like what they did in the ring, I thought Mason T-Bar maximized their time. And I like the promo that they cut after the show. So we'll see where this goes. Will they change the names back to Dijakovic and Dio Madden? We'll have to see. But I just want to give a quick shout to those guys. Obviously, Raw, a lot of complaints this week was about the format in the first hour, where it was very similar to last week's show. And I can understand that. The couple things that stood out to me this week on the show was Charlotte Flair's promo. Again, I keep saying it. She is the measuring stick of professional wrestling and women's wrestling, in my opinion. She is that good at what she does. My favorite match of the show this week was Matt Riddle and Randy Orton. I thought that match was fantastic. I thought the stuff with Shayna and Nia this week just continues to get more stupid as the weeks go by. The stuff with Mandy Rose and Danny Brooks showing highlight clips during the match was stupid, in my opinion. I really didn't care for it. You know, a match that surprised me as far as like an entertainment point of view was Kofi Kingston and Elias. I'll take a quick swig of water, as Stone Cold says. Which is a good transition because Stone Cold, they had this really cool documentary of Stone Cold that came out on A&E, right, last Sunday. If you haven't seen it, you should go check it out. Anyways, Xavier Woods was playing the Stone Cold theme song during the match, and Kofi did the spot where he's like, we'll do the Luthez press, and then we'll go to the ground and pound stop, and then stop at the mud hole and walk in and dry. That's another part where Graves was doing great color commentary. Just some fun stuff. A good TV match where it actually saw Elias defeat Kofi Kingston. So found that very interesting. We had Alexa Bliss talk about Lily. I have no idea where this is going, but that's the thing about episodic television. We'll have to see what goes from there. I mentioned already about the stuff with Drew McIntyre and Mason T-Bar. I thought the match with The Miz and Damon Priest was alright. Priest got his victory back, so people could calm down a little bit. And then the main event of the show this week was Charlotte Flair and Asuka. And Asuka won thanks to help from Rhea Ripley, and Charlotte Flair completely snapped on the referees. And look, guys, you got to give respect to the officials. All promotions, respect the damn referees, damn it. I know my buddy, referee Tony S. would appreciate that. No, referee Eddie, the referee that got attacked on Raw was a trooper, man. He got mollywopped by Charlotte. It was interesting for sure. The way to get suspended like that, I thought that was interesting. But it seems like we're going with this like loose cannon character of Charlotte, where she's like all about her and she's not caring what anybody thinks, and she's just gonna do whatever she wants because she's Charlotte Flair. And we got that, and we got this dynamic with Asuka and Rhea Ripley, where you don't know who's the heel or the babyface. So obviously, this is leading up to a triple threat match at Backlash, and I think the match would be fantastic. The thing is, I don't know who am I supposed to cheer for here, and secondly, again, like which direction are we gonna go here? So like anything could happen, but Charlotte did get fined and suspended indefinitely. Hopefully, she does not go down the path of Paige. I just want to throw that precursor out there, and we'll see what happens. Yeah, and then last thing I wanted to mention here for this week in WWE is that I'm trying to figure out what's next for Randy Orton. You know, you just had this feud with Bray Wyatt and The Fiend, and, you know, he's not in the title picture right now. What would you do with Randy Orton? I thought he had a fantastic match with Matt Riddle on Raw this Monday. I was surprised that Matt Riddle beat Randy Orton. But overall, man, I really enjoyed the match. I thought it was really, really good. So, yeah, as far as my opinion is concerned, I'd like to see maybe something where Randy Orton gets in the feud with, I wouldn't say Riddle. That's the thing. I think you have to find somebody on the Raw roster that can get into the feud with Randy Orton right now. I mean, you can't do him and Sheamus again. I don't think you can turn Randy Orton into a babyface. I'm really interested in, like, who would you have Randy Orton get in the feud with? Do you have Randy Orton get into a program with Bobby Lashley? I don't see that yet. You know, if it was me, I would have Orton get into a feud with Ali. You know, Ali was mad about Kofi taking his spot at WrestleMania, but Ali should be mad at Randy Orton. That should be the guy that Randy Orton should be in the feud with, is Ali. That's just my opinion. Love to get your thoughts on it. All right, we're about to get into our main event segment of the show this week. The segment you all have been waiting for, the funniest and most entertaining part of your week, otherwise known as What the Hell is Wrong with AEW? We're going to start off with Brother Carter in a 3, 2, 1.
It's time for What the Hell is Wrong with AEW?
What the hell is wrong with AEW? I will admit that this was a better show this week, but there was still some absolute trash. And we're going to break down that trash right now. Okay, I wanted Ricky Starks versus Hangman Adam Page to be good. And there was some good action, don't get me wrong. But it was just really sloppy, and Ricky Starks took some nasty bumps. And during the match I was like, oh god, is he okay? Looked like he got dropped on his head a couple times, so I hope Starks is okay. Definitely not their best effort, and I know those two guys can go, so I hope we see better from them next time. The Elite is now becoming NWO Elite. They have their own trailer, they have their own camera crew, they just stroll in there like they own the place because they're the most over people in the company. And we know how well that worked out for the NWO Elite, and I have no doubt that it will work out the exact same for the new Elite because they absolutely suck. The Good Brothers have gone down so far since joining the Elite. Like, I don't care about them at all. They just annoy me now. Having now been associated with the god-awful Elite. Like, they're just the worst. Why is Trent's name a question? Like, and now, coming in, Trent So are we supposed to think that this guy's actually credible because his name is a question? That just doesn't make any sense to me. I just can't buy the Inner Circle as dangerous or as a threat. Their promo in the ring with Shivani, Santana was actually good. I like that, but Hager is not credible. He's just annoying. Jericho tries to be tough, but he's not. I just can't buy the Inner Circle as both dangerous or a threat. Why should I care about their match with Pinnacle at Blood and Guts? The only thing I care about is seeing MJF kick the crap out of Jericho, because MJF had the best part about Dynamite this week, which I'll get into later in the show. And we have another ringside brawl during the Billy Gunn and QT Marshall match, because AEW thinks that if it doesn't have at least 2 ringside brawls a week, it's not a credible wrestling program. The brawl is overdone, and quite frankly, it's lost all its luster in AEW. It doesn't mean anything anymore, because now we're going to get that. So I don't have any reason to care about these factions and their problems, because they just brawl every single week. It's stupid. Makes no sense. Why did Dustin Rhodes put on all of that makeup for a 2-minute segment? He did all of his he's got the red and blue face paint and all that kind of good stuff. Why did he do that? And then he's got this bull rope that he's going to try to do to simulate Dusty Rhodes. I don't get it. I don't get it. It just makes absolutely no sense to me in this useless feud with QT Marshall that really isn't going where. I thought this was all about Cody and QT, and now Cody's nowhere to be seen. I don't get it. Okay. Why is Don Callis, who is supposed to be the president of Impact Wrestling, wanting AEW's champion to win the title of the company that he supervises? I get there's a crossover and all that stuff, but Don Callis is the president of Impact, and he wants Kenny Omega to win their world championship, who is an AEW talent. This whole storyline is stupid, and it makes no sense. Don Callis is really getting on my nerves, and I tell you, it would be a huge swerve if Rich Swann won the AEW championship this weekend. But you know that's not going to happen. You know Omega's going to be walking around with 2 belts on next week's episode of the show. And then finally, why is Sting attacking Luchasaurus for no reason? Luchasaurus was just on the apron trying to offer some support, and then Sting attacked him for no reason. He's supposed to be the face. And after a great match with Allen and Darby Allin and Jungle Boy, we have a stupid segment with Scorpio Sky, Ethan Page, and Lance Archer that's completely convolutes this whole situation. It makes no sense to me. This was a better show this week, but there still was their flaws, because seriously, what the hell is wrong with AEW?
This has been What the Hell is Wrong with AEW.
Alright, thank you, Brother Carter, for your submission this week. As always, appreciate what you do for the podcast, my man. Thank you. Alright, now it's time for the Brother Adam portion of What the Hell is Wrong with AEW this week. For those who are new to this segment, I don't think myself and Brother Carter take what we say about AEW too personally, or like personally offended by it with something they do on their show. A lot of it is just in the gist in spite of people who think AEW does no wrong. So that's the charm of the segment. I hope you understand this segment is more rooted in comedy than actual frustrations with the show. I make no bones about it that AEW is not a product that I enjoy covering or watching throughout every single week, but it's not something that I ultimately hate at the end of the day, because more wrestling, the better for everybody, right? But anyways, let's get to the show. I thought this week's episode was better than last week's one. I still think there's a couple loose ends that continue to happen on the show, but you get that with every wrestling show. There's a couple of matches in the show that was good for match day, but my ultimate question for everybody for this week with Dynamite was, who really got over this week in AEW? What feud really got put up to the next level in AEW this week? Because while there's good wrestling action, I don't feel like anything actually advanced this week. You know, the stuff with the post-match brawls and stuff like that has to stop. It really does. By the way, I want to get this rant out of the way. It's not going to be long. I have a couple things to say about Bryan Allvarez. Dude, man, every time you cut a video, you are becoming more and more whinier than a 13-year-old high school teenage girl. Dude, you come off as a freaking sissy. Just stop what you're doing, man. Like, him going on a soapbox about Triple H not calling the Wednesday Night Wars an actual war is so freaking ridiculous. It wasn't a war. Get over it. You're the one that perpetuated it being a war. Like, just shut the fuck up already, please. All right, let's go back to the thing. I don't want to make this all about Bryan Allvarez. I just need to get that off my chest. But, again, like, there's solid matches, like Heyman Page and Ricky Starks to start on the show. I thought that was fine. And then you have Pentagon and Trent Beretta, and this match just, I thought, went way too long than what it needed to be. It was an inconsequential match. There was nothing on the line. So I don't know why this match went 17 minutes on the show. And then the stuff with the Inner Circle and the Pinnacle this week. I like the interview that JR did with the Pinnacle backstage. I thought MJF's promo was really good. I was doing a review on the SNE Network yesterday with Andrew Baydala, and he was mentioning that it was kind of a turnoff for him where MJF would just start randomly screaming during a promo to make a point. And I can see where he's coming from with that. But MJF, to me, is just the most consistent performer on that show and overall package, and I love what he does. What really stood out to me from that segment with the Pinnacle was hearing Wardlow speak. I thought he did a really good job in that segment. That's just my opinion. Also, wanted to mention really quick the stuff with the Tony Schiavone interview with the Inner Circle. I'm going to say this, and those who listen to the podcast every week should know this by now. Keep all microphones away from Jake Hager. And if not, send his ass home and keep his ass home. I never want to hear another promo from Jake Hager for the rest of my life. Okay? No. Just no. Please no. I'm sorry, guys. This Inner Circle promo did not sell me on blood and guts. It didn't. Like, all due respect to Jericho, but I thought this was a promo he would cut on Monday Night Raw. This had no significance or any feeling to me. Them as baby faces just come off as cheap and disingenuous. There's nobody in that group that I would cheer for as baby faces unless Santana and Ortiz were back in LAX with Conan. But even then, it's like, this is a heel group. They're trying to come off like DX. And they got the leather jackets out, and it's just not entertaining. I'm sorry, guys. Like, and also the stuff with the Judas sing-along, and I don't know, just all about it just seemed off to me. I did not like that segment, and it did not get me more excited for blood and guts. Let's see what else stood out on this extravaganza of great wrestling, right? The Elites. Another segment backstage that I really didn't care for. I guess AEW forgot that they're putting the world title on the line on a big pay-per-view this Sunday and in a big-time match. Don Callis just mentioned it like a throwaway comment. And you have Rich Swann being treated like an afterthought in this build, which is really unfortunate for Rich. It's unfortunate to the men and women who bust their ass in Impact. And I get it. Maybe for AEW business-wise, they don't have the incentive to push Impact in this partnership, but this is the stuff that Tommy Dreamer is saying too. Like, sooner or later, stuff like this happen where egos get in the way, and I just thought it was just bad business with how they handled that stuff last night. The stuff with Moxley and Kingston driving into the Elite truck, whatever. It did nothing for me. I didn't hate it, but it wasn't something that I was marking out for. So, besides that, like, the rest of the show was okay. I didn't hate this week's episode of Dynamite, but I didn't think it was anything special either. So, like, I like the stuff with Christian Cage and Will Hobbs. I like that match. The stuff with Darby Allin and Jungle Boy was good for the main event. And then Shida and Conti, I thought, had a really good women's match for the women's title. I just thought it was the wrong decision. I think it would have been a good opportunity to capitalize when the Iron's hot. Ty Conti's been on a roll recently with her performances recently, and I thought it'd be a good time to do a cool TV title change on TV. So nonetheless, Sheeta's still your champion, and I guess this will be the countdown to Britt Baker becoming the AEW Women's Champion, which is more than fine with me. So, overall, with Dynamite this week, I didn't hate this show. I didn't love this show, but yeah, just some of the stuff was just a big miss with me. And then, like, Team Taz, like, I love the group, but when you continue to hype them up in these big matches, and then they continue to lose every member that gets, like, a singles match like Dynamite, I know, like, the bookies curtail, like, New Japan, where faction members have singles matches on these separate shows. But when those guys continue to lose, you start to lose luster. And I hate to see that, but folks, that is what the hell is wrong with AEW this week. Alright, we're going to make some predictions. Yes. For Rebellion coming up on Sunday. We have Impact's Go Home show for Rebellion tonight on Access TV. I'll be covering that for you guys later on. I just want to go over the card with you guys real quick before we head out for the podcast this week. And here we go. We got 8 matches already confirmed for the show. We'll start from the bottom to top. Kiera Hogan and Tasha Steelz against Jordan Grace, and somebody to be determined for the Impact Knockouts title. I'll go with whoever Jordan Grace's partner is. My guess would be Taylor Wilde. I could be wrong, but they've been doing these vignettes, so I would not be surprised if it's her. That's the surprise partner. We got Violet by Design against Eddie Edwards, Willie Mack, James Storm, and Chris Sabin in an 8-man tag team match. I'll go with Team Edwards to win this match. Trey Miguel against Sami Callihan in the last man standing match. I got Trey Miguel beating Sami Callihan. Matt Cardona against Brian Myers. I got Brian Myers beating Matt Cardona. Ace Austin against Josh Alexander from TJ Perkins. This is a great match. This is going to be an awesome one. For the X Division Championship, I got Ace Austin retaining. I got Deanna Purrazzo also retaining against Tennille Dashwood for the Knockout title. That should be an interesting match. And then I have the Good Brothers becoming your new Impact World Tag Team Champions, beating Finn Juice. And then Kenny Olivier will defeat Rich Swann, unfortunately, and become the double champion. So, overall, man, the card for Rebellion is really, really good this week. And I'm really curious to see how the pay-per-view goes. I'll be curious of the buy gate and stuff like that. But, man, overall, I'm really excited to see what happens. And it should be fun to see what happens, you know. They're bringing in Mauro now. I think he'll do a great job. I think he'll do a great job calling the match as well. And it should be a great night of wrestling on Sunday. So I'll have that transfer for you guys later on this weekend for Rebellion. So that's pretty much it. I want to thank you guys so much for hanging out with me this week for this week's edition of the Hoots Podcast, episode 254. We're on the countdown to reaching 300,000 downloads on Anchor, which is pretty cool. And thank you guys for the support each and every single week. As always, you can check out the podcast free of charge every single Thursday, anywhere you get your podcasts from. Leave us a 4 or 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Also, make sure to bookmark ProWrestlingTranscripts.com. You can follow me on social media at Josh Lopez Media, at Joshie Lopez 94, at Josh Lopez Music on Instagram if you want to see me do guitar covers. And make sure to bookmark ProWrestlingTranscripts.com. So, just want to remind everybody, man, thank you again for hanging out with me for the podcast this week. And, remember, folks, be the authentic product that is yourself. And always remember, dictate the pace of your life. Nobody else. You are dictating the pace of your life. Nobody else. You're doing things on your own terms. I love you guys. It's been a wonderful time. This has been episode 254 of the Hoots Podcast. And right now, we're going to send off to Brother Carter for this week's edition of the Thoughts of Dericho. Have a great weekend, everybody. Yes, sir.
And now, the Thoughts of Dericho. Listen well, man.
Welcome, welcome, one and all, to the segment that must be acknowledged as one of the greatest in all of wrestling podcasting. It is the Thoughts of Dericho, featuring the one, the only, Brother Carter. We're a week removed from an incredible week of action, WrestleMania week, And some solid shows. Well, they're okay. Some okay shows this week. Let's get right into it. I love the idea, starting with SmackDown, I love the idea of Pat McAfee as the SmackDown color commentator. We've said on this show before, he might be one of the most entertaining characters in wrestling. He was a great heel doing his stuff with against the Undisputed Era with Adam Cole and his feud with Adam Cole. So to see him now as a commentator is great. I think he's going to turn, if this ends up working out and he sticks with it, he could be doing this for a very long time. So I love it. Welcome Pat McAfee for the Blue brand. I don't know what's happening with Cesaro, Rollins, and Roman Reigns, but I like it. I had hoped that after Cesaro had defeated Rollins at WrestleMania, that we would get a Cesaro-Roman Reigns match down the road. And I think that may happen. I've heard rumblings that that a lot of people think Cesaro is finally Cesaro's time to get some main event opportunities. And he might get that against Roman Reigns. But we don't know what's happening with Seth Rollins. We don't know where Daniel Bryan and Edge fit in all of this. So very interesting to see how this all plays out getting into WrestleMania Backlash in a few weeks. I just don't know what's happening with Rey Mysterio, Dominic, Otis. We still need to see what's happening with this feud. With Tucker being released, I don't know what that means for Otis going forward. It seemed like they were doing a lot with Otis last year, and they were really liking the storyline with Mandy Rose and stuff, but he seemed to have fallen off. So we'll see what happens with him going forward. We'll see. I like the idea of seeing Dabba-Kato as Commander Aziz. I think that could work. Again, I'm still just a little questionable about the whole angle. I think it could be just a little bit insensitive and slightly inappropriate to have Apollo Crews with the Nigerian accent. But they're going with it, and I'm happy to see what both of them can do because I'm a big fan of both, and I think it could be great. Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens just continue to be just amazing. What can you say? They just let them go, right? Just two incredible talents that have incredible chemistry. Just let them go, and they can tell stories for years. So another great match between the two of them on SmackDown this past week. I'll be curious to see if there's I'll be curious to see what Bianca Belair and the Street Profits have going forward. Bianca Belair's like, come on guys, go win your titles back, and then they don't. So I don't know if there could be some tension between the Street Profits and Bianca Belair. It's another interesting dynamic to it, so I think it could be good. I'm hoping the Street Profits will get the SmackDown Tag Team Championships back at some point because they're incredibly entertaining. Plus, I want to see Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode do more single stuff. I think that's where they shine, but that's just me. So we'll see what happens with that. All four of those competitors are great. Bianca Belair, of course, is amazing. Sasha Banks, of course, is amazing. And I can tell that feud is not over. I still want to see Tamina and Natalya become the women's tag team champions. I think they'd be a great fit for those titles, and we need Shayna and Nia to start doing single stuff again. More specifically, Shayna. I want to see Shayna either in either women's championship feud. It doesn't really matter. I don't know if there's room for her right now, but I still think Shayna is one of the top talents in the world, and she needs to be involved with the feud at some point. And then, of course, another phenomenal match to close out the show with Cesaro and Rollins. Cesaro and Jey Uso, with Rollins interfering at the very end. Again, this is, as I mentioned earlier, this thing is very convoluted. Not sure what's going to happen, but it's done in a way where you can follow the storyline and kind of see what's going on. They just tease it ever so slightly instead of giving it all to you at once. So, should be good. Really, really think there's some interesting things going forward on SmackDown. All right, let's talk about Raw real quick. Let's see here. Pull up my notes. Okay. Pull up my notes here. Okay. I still don't get Shelton Benjamin and Cedric Alexander not being with the Hurt Business. They are fantastic and work so well with that group. But now they've been jobbing to the Viking Raiders 2 weeks in a row. I don't get it. Again, for me, I just thought that the Hurt Business worked so well with Shelton Benjamin and Cedric Alexander. So we'll see what happens to them going forward. I just hope they don't get lost in the shuffle because I think they're great. And they had a great thing going with the Hurt Business. I guess they could easily throw them back in there real quick, but you never know what they're going to do. I don't know. We'll just see. We'll see. Matt Riddle continues to be one of the funniest people on Raw, really in all of professional wrestling. I love Matt Riddle, and he backs it up in the ring, which is the best part. I love it. I think it's absolutely terrific. And I'm really, I think there's great things ahead for Matt Riddle. I think he's going to be world champion within 2 years. So I think he's absolutely terrific. So love that stuff. And I loved his match with Orton. I thought it was great. Charlotte Flair continues to show why she is the GOAT. She comes back, just absolutely incredible promo on Raw. And then, of course, and we'll talk about this a little bit more later, but she goes off in the final segment of Raw, which we'll get to in a minute. Charlotte is the GOAT. Charlotte tops Sasha. Charlotte tops Asuka. She is not only the best in the world right now. I've said this before on multiple occasions. I think she's the greatest female wrestler of all time right now. And her career is only going to get better going forward. So Charlotte continues to be the GOAT with a great promo, great stuff with Asuka, and great stuff with Rhea Ripley. As I said, great match with Matt Riddle and Randy Orton. Both of them are fantastic. Riddle gets the pinfall, which I thought was interesting. So we'll see what happens with them going forward. Let's see. The U.S. Open Challenge is back, which is... I was surprised to see Sheamus with the U.S. Open Challenge going forward. So I don't know what's happening with that, if they're trying to bring that back. And... it looks like Humberto Carrillo is going to be, let's see. Sorry, it looks like, I'm getting messed up in my notes here. But yeah, so it'd be curious to see what happens with him and the U.S. Open Challenge going forward. Should be good. As I mentioned before, Naomi and Lana get the win on Shayna and Nia. We really need to split them up. Great to see Angel Garza back. I love Angel Garza. I think that's real. I'm glad to see him back. I'd love to see him do something with Nia Jax. And then Shayna can keep kicking ass going forward. Again, Damian Priest has all the tools to be a world champion. Love Damian Priest. I'm hoping he gets to do more with The Miz going forward. And John Morrison. I think that feud works just well. I think that feud works really, really, really well. Let's see. Elias gets the pinfall, or gets a win over the New Day, which I think is interesting. And so that was interesting. I guess they're going to be doing the New Day is going to be doing a program now with Elias with Elias and Jackson Riker, which is fine. I'm still very curious though. Is it me or we're not getting as much out of the Raw Tag Team Champions? They had the big win at WrestleMania, but we don't really know what's happening with them now. So I'm kind of curious to see what's happening with that. Again, Alexa Bliss, I'd sell my soul to her. She's just absolutely fantastic. And now with Lily, I thought was absolutely fantastic. I love what she's doing. It'll be great to see the Fiend gimmick in the women's division, I think. And that'll be great. Okay. We finally get to see T-Bar and Mace unmasked. And see them as Dominik Dijakovic and Dio Madden. Please, and they didn't do this week, but please next week acknowledge them by their real names, Dominik Dijakovic and Dio Madden. I mean, we've seen Dio Madden before, so I'm surprised. I was just kind of worried that the announcers didn't pick up on that. Adnan Virk, you can get away with that because he's new, but not Saxton and Graves. So I'm curious to see what they do with that. I hope they acknowledge them this week as by their real names, and now that they're done with Retribution. That should be really good. Let's see what they can really do going forward. Okay. As I mentioned, Damian Priest gets the win. He's absolutely fantastic. And then, here's the other thing I didn't like to close the show. We got a great match with Charlotte and Asuka, but Rhea Ripley somehow causes the distraction. So is she a heel now? Maybe she's just a face trying to be a bad... I don't know. So it's a little bit interesting to see. I bet we're going to see a triple threat match between the three of them at WrestleMania Backlash, and I think that's fine. Really quickly talking about AEW this week, the things I like. Good match between Penta El Zero Miedo and Trent. The ending was kind of weird, but it doesn't take away from a good match between them. That was great. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I think MJF is going to go down as one of the greatest of all time when his career is done. Fantastic promo from him. He is by far the best thing about AEW, and AEW needs to push him to the moon, get him in the world title picture, get it away from Moxley and Omega, get it on MJF. He is the man. Wonderful match from Hikaru Shida and Ty Conti. I enjoyed that very much. I actually, in my predictions, thought Ty Conti may get the win here, but they went with Hikaru Shida, which is fine. It's great. But I'm finally ready for Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, to get her title match. It's about damn time. There's actually a lot of good wrestling on the show tonight, and I thought there was a great showing from Will Hobbs and Christian Cage as well. I've been a big fan of Will Hobbs for a while. I like his work, and having him work with some veterans like Cage is going to be great. And it also looks like there's some dissension within Team Taz as they both lost tonight. So we will see what happens. And those are the thoughts of Dericho for this week. My final thought is justice was served this past week in Minneapolis, but that's just step one. We still have a long way to go, but this was a great, great first start as justice was served.
This has been the Thoughts of Dericho. You're smarter now, man.